This is my trash pile truck. Got a cab from Gary, piece of his yard art, 1950 Ford 1-ton. The frame's off a 56 International Harvester, 3/4 ton. I did all the work myself. Gary helped me in some stuff, and we worked together on our projects. After 50 years of working on everybody else's stuff, finally made something for myself. Just something to have fun with and drive around, and something I can get in and out of easy. And I was in Vietnam 2 cruises, almost 3. I was in long enough to earn the 3rd star, so I made a Vietnam service ribbon to go on the back window. 1937 Willys, half of a pickup bed. Used to be somebody's yard trailer, and I cut it down and put her on here because I didn't want a long bed. The back tailgate was the Willys tailgate, but I had an old mashed up Ford tailgate at home, and I cut the center panel out of it and welded it on to make it look like a Ford. I got 2 propane tanks welded together for a gas tank. That was that's my gas tank. Thought I'd put a little blue pine wormwood on the side of the bed. I might shorten those a bit. They might be a little too high. Gary wants me to take them off entirely, but Gary doesn't drive the truck, so he gets no vote. That's got an old Diamond Rio truck emblem on it. It's made like I make everything. It's overbuilt so nothing breaks. This door handle's a rod out of a 7-horse Briggs & Stratton. I didn't have a handle on it when I got it, so I made one out of that. My taillights are genuine brass polish cans. They fit I just had to split the bottom of it and separate it just big enough to go over that original light housing. When you need something and you don't have a lot of change, you end up making it or going without. This is my jewel. This is what I'm most proud of, is my motor. It's a 292 straight 6. It's actually a 63 Chevy 3/4 ton truck motor that I totally went through. Bored 40 over, a 268 cam, roller rockers, flat top pistons, gives me 10-to-1 compression, big valves, what you call a lump port. I did a valve job, ported it myself, put lump ports in it. My friend says it's 300 plus horsepower. We don't know exactly where the plus is. I'm guessing 350, 360. Tranny's a T5 Mustang 5-speed transmission. It works beautiful behind these old straight 6s. I've always liked the old Chevy 6s, but I've never had any experience with a 292. It's always been the smaller ones, and he happened to have a spare 292 laying around, and he let the poor boy have it. The intake manifold is water heated. It takes the hot water out of the engine and runs it through and out the other side, and that's the connection. It comes out of the water pump, goes into the manifold, and out back through the other side of the water pump. Then the overflow, radiator overflow, is an old fire extinguisher. Everybody seems to like my copper tubing. I stopped at Tumalo this morning at Shell Station. There was a woman there, big old gal driving a pickup truck, and she just went nuts. She stayed there until I was ready to start it up again. She wanted to hear it run some more. And then my radiator fan is one out of a junkyard. It's got a 67 Corvette radiator that I turned up on its end and converted. Works great, never overheats. It's a 29 Buick radiator shell that's been cut down. And I took 5 inches off the height of it, and I had to shorten each one of these cooling flappers, and they will work. I'm going to put a pull cable on it one of these days so I can open and close them just for the heck of it. Radiator cap eagle, it's a floor lamp decoration. My struts are 3/4 inch rebar. I just changed to another axle. It's a 50 Chevy pickup axle with Posey springs. Steering's a Toyota pickup power steering unit. This is my custom interior. It's coffee bean bags from Sister's Coffee. My driver's side is a little worn. There's 2 different seats. The driver's side seat's out of a Mercedes-Benz, and the passenger seat's out of a Chrysler minivan. So they don't hardly match, but there's something to sit on. I've made everything on this truck. A steering wheel, it's an old, really worn out Harley Davidson chain. Used some garage sale wrenches for spokes and a doorknob for a spinner. My gauge panel is doubled up 1/8 inch aluminum and with 76 homemade rivets holding it together. Yeah, I needed to get some pedals, so went out the scrapyard and chopped a couple pieces out of some well pipe I had back there. The pedal hangers and all that I made, didn't buy them. When I first got the cab, it had no floor left. It was all rusted out. So some years before, I bought a part of a silo top, which is galvanized steel, and it was rusty on one side and still good on the other, but I made a whole new floor out of silo material. The regulator won't hold the window up, so I crank it to where I want it, and I just slip this over the knob to hold it in place.
On that.
Keeps it from falling. So this is what I've put together out of junk, more or less. My dad taught me how to weld when I was about 10. I learned most everything from my dad. Between the good Lord, my dad, and my hands, that's where my livelihoods come from. If it wasn't for that, I don't know what I'd do. When you're not too bright, you don't make a very good... Well, my first, I helped my dad rebuild a 1949 Plymouth station wagon when I was just a little shaver. And that's the first time I got into tearing a motor up and helping with it anyway. The second thing was a 57 Ford station wagon with an old wide block, were they 292s, were they? We rebuilt that when I was in junior high school, I think, when we did that. And I've always been interested in anything with a motor on it. I used to take our old lawnmower with a 1.5 horse Briggs on it and try to ride it around, figure out a way to hold the handle up and riding back on a wagon. But I was in high school. I think I was a freshman. I wanted a bike with a motor on it, and everybody else was running scooters and mopeds, and we never had any money, so I asked Dad if he'd do something with my old Schwinn bike, and we took a trip into Los Angeles and bought an old West Bend 2-stroke motor off of a lawnmower, and he rigged it up on that Schwinn, and I drove that around. I thought I was really something because I could beat a moped. So that's where I started. I kind of got, my folks wouldn't let me work on cars much when I was in high school, but my senior year I got a 49 Ford and played around with that, and that was a good old car. Then I had a 55 Studebaker, what the heck, it was the long sleeky model. I forget what they call them now. I drove that for a few years, played around with that. I never had any money to make hot rods, but I did get double twin exhausts and things like that. Modern life has a lot of things in it that don't do so good with me. I don't know. I don't get along with it very well, and this is what keeps me going. This and getting involved at church. Thanks to Gary nagging me for 3 years, I finally went to church with him one day, and that's where I get a lot of my enjoyment and pleasure outside of the playing with this stuff. I'd like to build a couple more, but I don't think I have enough life in me to do another one. I'm just going to hang on to this baby and drive it till it falls apart, or the cops kick me off the road.